Corruption is not doing things right, not doing things correctly, knowing what is right to do and not doing it deliberately.
Corruption. For my own side, the way I know as the corruption is going to be is come from our government. Our corruption come from our government.
Okay, corruption is not doing things right, not doing things correctly, knowing what is right to do and not doing it deliberately. That's corruption.
To me, corruption is a very bad system of running government. Where an individual will try to take something that belongs maybe to the public to himself and just siphon the whole money that is supposed to be meant for the country. So that is what I understand about corruption anyway.
Just simply indulging in illegal activities, things that you know that it's against the laws of wherever you are, constitutionally, or whatever law that is guiding your local, and you decide to do otherwise. Doing anything that is unethical, that is not within the confines of the rules guarding whatever organization, where you live or whatever thing you're doing.
Corruption is this cheating. They are cheating the poor, taking our money on their own selfish interests alone. That's what I understand by corruption.
What I know that is causing corruption is our government have to settle down and think about it.
One of the major causes of corruption that I can say now is maybe poverty and greediness. Actually, greediness too leads to corrupt acts.
Well, they say naturally, the first law of nature is self-preservation. So in trying to get self-preservation, people are selfish. They want ease, they want convenience, even at the expense of someone else, or at the expense of whatever bad is going to do to the organization or the country or the neighborhood they are living. People are just basically selfish. People want convenience, people want ease.
The causes are the way the leaders, our leaders, are not careful. They are they know only themselves.
Things will never go well. Those are effects. Things will not go well because in the act they would never want to do things correctly, and it will give birth to wrong things. Actually, yes.
It affects the system, And once corruption affects any system, it's really bad for the system, like a government system to work, like the everything concerning the economics, the development of any country. It's really difficult for any country facing corruption to grow, because with corruption, you see every part of the government, every organs of the government will be slow in growth.
I don't know. I never, for my own side though, I never done anything corrupt. I never done anything that I know say is a corruption. For my own side,
severally, to be honest, severally, and sometimes you it's a system of this world that you find yourself doing some things you don't want to do, but you're doing it actually. You understand? Like beating traffic lights. Do you understand? Like not having change and telling the customer, there is no change and all.
Like, no, I don't think I'm corrupt, I don't think I'm corrupt. Trying to be very honest to my own business, try to be honest to my clients and all that, So I've tried to maintain the, say Nigeria, but other people look at all Nigerians are corrupt, but it's not like that, We just try to be ourselves and all that. That is it. It's just the system is corrupt, not all,
Well, I'm not doing a work that should take corruption, because I'm a taxi man. I pick you, I charge you before I carried you. And that bargain I have with you is what I will take from you. So I don't do any business outside driving the taxi.
Yes, I believe that it's only the government, and it's only the government. It's not say only the government, because the way government is taking care of us now, the way you will see some people are coming outside. You will see some people that are stealing. Some people are doing anyhow. That is why.
No. It's not only the government. It's not only the government that are corrupt. Individuals too are corrupt. Even from the grassroots. There's so much corruption going on that level as well. Not only the government.
When we say government is concerned, like you have to put 1, 2, 3 people together that makes the government. The government is we are the government. So like once individual is corrupt, that means the government is it will affect the government, because once you have advantage of getting to the powerhouse, like the seat of government, it will really affect the country. So when you say the government, individual, there are two different things there. Once individual is corrupt, then definitely the government will be corrupt. So because it's an individual still make up the government, Yeah, that is to my own understanding.
It's a chain reaction. If you live in a lawless environment, why there's a structure at anywhere, why there's a family structure is so that you have a child and the child does not run wild. There's a regulatory system. So at every point, there's a regulatory system, whether it's in the house, like I said earlier, whether it's in an estate, if you're in this estate and there's an association, there's a rule, there's order. Do you understand? So if the government is corrupt, inevitably it will trickle down to the citizens. They will be corrupt. So I think that the government is the fundamental cause of corruption, because if there's strict disciplinary measures for people that break the rules, and the government personnel themselves don't break the rules, so it's literally like leading by example. The fear of such disciplinary actions will make sure that people, take for instance Nigerians that live here, once they go abroad, you can never see them doing the nonsense that they do here, because they know that there will be consequences for their actions. So it's a breakdown that it's fundamental. So I would say that yes, the remote cause of corruption here is because the government is less afraid about it, and they are the first offenders actually.
Not only government, every government office are corrupt.
No, it's not only the government, it's everybody in this Nigeria.
Curbing corruption in Nigeria is, as an individual, well, I might not be able to do so much, because corruption has eaten so much deep into us that even the unborn ones are already corrupt. They are prepared to just come and display their own aspect of corruption. Do you understand? And but I just think if the government could create more jobs, employ more people, let people at least be okay in their own level, I think it will reduce the level of corruption we already have now in Nigeria.
That's $1 million question. Well, if something is rot, there's a rot from the base, the correction has to start from the base. I think so. But because I am a sociologist, do you understand? So I think that when people have imbibed a certain culture for the longest time, what happens that it becomes a norm. It becomes it's just like literally growing up and you find out that you are left-handed. So as of everybody else uses their right hand, but you use your left hand. So here it's what the new kids are born into. Do you understand? So if there's going to be a revolutionary change, the paradigm shift has to start from the government. There has to be some sort of I think there will be a reorientation process, but it is not going to be one-sided. But the citizenry has to have confidence in the government before you can actually successfully implement anything that eradicates corruption. Let me give you an instance. When I'm abroad and I go to a park, the reason why I get on the queue and I stay there is because I know that there's not going to be any underhanded treatment in the front. People would go according to their turns. I'm just using like the slightest example. People would go when it's their turn. I know that even if I meet my cousin and he or she is one of the staff there, they are not going to make me jump the queue. Do you understand? So that's confidence I have in that structure, that they would do right by me, would make me just say, oh, it's just a matter of time, it will get my turn. But if there's going to be a reorientation, the government has to reinstate that confidence in their citizenry. We have to have the confidence that if you're asking me to do something the right way, that eventually you're not going to not punish somebody else that is doing the wrong things. You're not going to allow somebody else get in front. I mean, I'm just using the fundamental scenarios in our day-to-day life. So it starts from the government, it trickles down to the custodian of values, which are the middle class, the families. Do you understand? So when your mother knows that if you do this in school, if you do that it's going to cause trouble, so they will take that, the instilling of those values in their children. Not that they don't take it seriously, but it's a tough job for the parents now, because you finish teaching your child, the child goes outside there and 80% of the other people are doing otherwise. Do you understand? So that paradigm shift has to start fundamentally. If we are really, there has to be a social reorientation in the way that we think, in the things that that determine our value system. Our value system needs an overhaul. People in our environment, people respect. I'm just using, like I said, I'm using relatable scenarios. People respect money. People respect different material things more than they respect certain values. So, for instance, a girl that wants to earn a decent living, to be able to afford the finer things of life when she or he can afford it. But because when you come out in a scene, people will tend to respect the other person that is probably doing 419 or doing one obscure things to make money. So when there's a value system overhaul, fundamentally, people will start to think differently. So I would rather a young man, a young woman that is making an honest living and that is honest, as averse to somebody that is just wealthy. So there has to be a fundamental overhaul of our value system, and it has to start from the top and trickle down to the bottom.